Welcome to another edition of Biblical Errancy Commentary, the series that takes a critical look at Scripture, pointing out its numerous errors, contradictions, and fallacies. This program teaches a kind of Sunday school in reverse by giving you the biblical information that you should have heard but didn't. With millions of Americans hearing a totally one-sided presentation of the Bible, balance is greatly needed. Only when people are given both sides of an issue can a truly objective analysis be possible. And here to provide the alternative perspective is the editor of Biblical Errancy Newsletter, Mr. Dennis McKenzie.
Welcome to the 32nd edition of Biblical Errancy Commentary. We're pleased you've joined us. Our final program in this series on the Bible versus science will focus on problems associated with the age of the earth, as outlined in the book of Genesis. One of the most common defenses employed by devious Christian minds to escape from many of the scientific problems we have mentioned in prior programs is to claim that the word day in Genesis is actually referring to a long period of time encompassing millions of years. This, of course, would go along with the evolutionist contention that the earth is billions of years old, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago, and man's been around for a lot longer than 8,000 years. In fact, numerous clashes between the Bible and science would be resolved by this major concession to reality. The only problem is that this theory won't stand critical analysis for the following reasons. First, the word translated as day is yom in the Hebrew and hemera in the Greek. Both mean a definite 24-hour period from sunset to sunset. Second, the constant reference to evening and morning in Genesis shows a 24-hour period is being referred to. This is how the Jews computed a day. If a day is an era, then why are evening and morning even mentioned? Third, Genesis must be referring to actual days. Otherwise, men who lived hundreds of years, like Adam and Methuselah, would actually have lived millions of years. If a day is an era, then a year must be incredibly long. It must involve hundreds of millions, if not billions of years. Fourth, if a day is an era, then the Pentateuch becomes chaotic. For example, in each of the following verses, the Hebrew word yom is employed. The flood was 40 days upon the earth. That's Genesis 7:17. I fell down before the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. That's Deuteronomy 9:25. He, that is Moses, was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. That's Exodus 34:28. If a day is an era, then Moses was with the Lord for a long time indeed. 40 days, and each day is an era. Fifth, if each day is an era or an epoch involving millions of years, then the seventh day, that is the Sabbath, is also a long period. It does not involve a 24-hour period each week, and thus there is no reason to honor it by resting or going to church either on Saturday or Sunday. 6. If a day means an era, then how are we to interpret the following verses and scores of others? Quote, 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath. In it you shall not do any work. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth and rested the seventh day. Unquote. Our seventh day of rest is going to be long indeed. Seventh, according to Genesis 1:26 and 1:31, Adam was made on the 6th day. This was followed by the 7th day, which was supposedly thousands or millions of years long, if we are to believe the day-age theoreticians. Following the 7th day, Adam fell into sin and was driven from the garden. This would mean that Adam lived through all the thousands and millions of years of the 7th day. But we know this is impossible, because according to Genesis 5:5, Adam only lived to be 930 years old. Eighth, we are plainly told in Genesis 1:16 that God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. In other words, the sun rules the day and the moon rules the night. This is obviously time as we know it. Time with days that are 24 hours long, with daylight ruling half of it. Ninth, Adam was created on the 6th day, according to Genesis 1:27 and 1:31. If each day is an epoch involving millions of years, then a tremendous problem arises when the 3rd chapter of Luke is analyzed. Luke 3 lists 77 generations from Adam to Jesus. If each man in Luke's genealogy had lived to be as much as 200 years old, for example, then Adam would have been created 15,400 years before Jesus.